You are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast, episode 178 of the College Loop Podcast. I'm Larck, @boytang on Twitter, and I just want to let everybody know, if you are tuning in, make sure you like and comment below, just to let us know that you are tuned in to the College Loop. And of course, with that, we're going to get right into the news, starting off with a couple of one former Auburn player who has now gotten hired to an NFL coaching staff. One former linebacker, Darren Bates, has been hired at the Carolina Panthers, home of my favorite NFL team, as a special teams assistant. So huge shout out to Darren Bates, one of the most underrated linebackers that I think doesn't get talked about enough. Darren Bates was a very solid, I say solid, very good linebacker for the Auburn Tigers during his playing days, and was a very solid reserve linebacker in the NFL. So huge ups to him, joining the torment that is being a Carolina Panthers supporter. And I say that with a full ironic grin on my face as I say that. I say that because, yeah, it's unbearable sometimes to be a Panthers fan. Then lastly, for football, we're going to get into a little bit of recruiting news, starting off with the fact that Auburn offered a 4-star running back in the class 2025. And I'm sorry if you can hear my typing. I'm currently trying to get his 24/7 pulled up. He has a familiar name. If you in Auburn football lore, no relation to this legend, but his name is Bo Jackson. Just a little bit of a it's a fun little news tidbit to just bring up. Auburn offers athletes all the time, but just offering a guy named Bo Jackson is hilarious. Definitely a guy that should have been offered sooner, just strictly off the name and name alone. He's currently projected to go to Ohio State, as he is from Cleveland, Ohio. That's really his only prediction, and he has several offers from a bunch of SEC and Power 5 schools in general. It would just be funny. I don't know how likely Auburn is to go after him heavily. I know Auburn is in need of a running back in the class 2020, class 25, and I know there's a couple of big names that are around for that. Alvin Henderson being the main running back target for the Auburn Tigers. But getting a guy named Bo Jackson would be awesome. You can't give him the number though; it's been retired. But it would be kind of funny to see another Bo Jackson come through the Auburn ranks. And speaking of class 2025, another decommitment has transpired in the class 2025. Now moving them back from 7 to 8. This has now been the third decommitment of the class 2025, with the first one being Kendarius Reddick was the first one. And then just this month, we've had 2 defensive linemen. On March 2nd, you had Antonio Coleman out of Maryland decommit. And then just yesterday, or as this comes out, just 2 days ago, you had 3-star defensive lineman Kalen Edwards announced his decommitment from the Auburn Tigers. And I've seen a lot of I've seen mixed opinions on this. Of course, whenever players start decommitting, a sense of urgency and panic starts to go through the fan base as a whole, because people just kind of see it as you just got to bring in as much talent as you possibly can every single recruiting class, which is true. But what I'm going to say is I'm more on the side of this kind of shows progress on the roster. Auburn, known for recruiting very good defensive linemen. There's currently 2 still remaining to play on the interior side of the defensive line, with Malik Autry, who is going to be a dog, and Jordan Crawford, who's also going to be a dog, if you will. These 2 guys are borderline 5-star prospects by the time their high school career is all said and done. Auburn isn't hurting from the decommitment of 2 defensive linemen, because Auburn's defensive line is going to be stacked. Auburn brought in plenty of talented guys class 2024. Amaris Williams. You had Jamonta Waller. You had guys like that that are coming in and are going to provide you quality reps right away. This is going to be a very young depth-wise defensive line. And looking at it like that, I mean, I could go even further into the D-Linemen that Auburn brought in. Of course, he brought in a couple of transfers, and Tro Carter and names are hard. I'm trying to Gage Keys. There you go. Auburn recruits D-Linemen very well. Always have. It's always been a trend for Auburn football to recruit very talented and very good defensive linemen, and to have D-Linemen commit to Auburn and then see them decommit shows more positive, a more positive outlook on the roster as a whole than it does a negative one, because what they're looking at is they're buying in to the program by committing, but then you kind of look at playing time. You look at the words, the battles to come of trying to get onto the field, just in general. And whenever Auburn decided it goes after 4 D linemen that all committed, there's only 60 minutes in every football game. There's only so many downs in every football game. There's only at the minimum 12 games for every football team. Like, so do the math. That's 48 quarters of football to play every Saturday. And then you only have so many downs for those games. Like, there's not enough downs to go around for true freshman D linemen. And of course, as freshmen, there's always the debate that you're not going to get on the field right away because you have to be an absolute monster of a human being to get on the field right away as a freshman. That's what we're seeing with Cam Coleman. That's why everyone is so hyped about Cam Coleman, because we're seeing what he can do and what he can be for the Auburn Tigers in 2024. That's why out of all the true freshmen, that's like the one that you see all the Auburn fans are like, this guy's going to be a starter right away because he's just that good. And he's so much better than what Auburn fans are used to at the wide receiver position. And of course, there are talented guys on the roster as wide receivers. There's talented guys on the D linemen as well. Of course, remember, you have, like I said earlier, you have Gage Keys, you have Trill Carter coming in, Morris Williams and Jamonta Waller, who honestly could be battling for starting spots too, because they're also just that good. Of course, then you bring back Jalen McLeod, Jason Jones, Keldrick Falk, all on the defensive line. So you're looking at it from a standpoint of the depth. Auburn is very good depth-wise on the defensive line. It's something that Auburn fans are very used to seeing. I think last year was one of the few years Auburn wasn't used to seeing that, because Marcus Harris kind of carried the load on the interior D-line. Jason Jones filled the gaps. And of course, you saw some tidbits of Justin Rogers getting that. But outside of that, the depth was very thin going down. And now you have last year's class. You have this year's class. And of course, you have the next year's class all coming through. There's not enough downs in the world for these players. You have to work your butt off no matter what school you go to in college football. And I know that there was a bunch of fan bases that tried to call out that Hugh Freeze was losing recruits because he can't recruit as well. And this is the one fan base on the other side of the state saying this is Kalen DeBoer's state to recruit from. It's just not as simple as that. I mean, there's going to be trash talk from every single fan base whenever someone decommits. It always happens. But if you look at it beneath the surface of it, it is simply just Auburn is deep at the defensive line position. They are deep now and in the future. And a couple of decommits aren't going to hurt the depth in the long run. Technically it can, but Auburn recruits the D linemen from both sides, both the high school and the transfer portal realm. It's not something I would not push the panic button at all. I wouldn't even be looking at the panic button as we speak. I mean, I was put in a traffic light term. Green, still green, very much green. Like busy highway with a very non-busy state road intersection where that light is continuously green. If there was like a mass decommitment train going on, I'd be a little bit more worried. If a few other if Malik Autry and Jordan Crawford and a bunch of other D-linemen started decommitting, knock on wood, I'd be worried. But I'm not. I would not be. This is simply just depth at its best, and some of these players just want to play earlier. That's playing time is such a key factor to recruiting now. I think nowadays, forever, it's always been a huge factor of it. So don't hit the panic button. Don't worry about it. It happens all the time. Happens to everybody. Auburn fans. It's not only something that happens to Auburn. It's not something that only happens to Georgia. It's not only something that happens to LSU. It's not something that only happens to It happens to everybody. So don't worry about it. Nothing crazy. decommitments happen. It's so hard to recruit year round. That's why Coach Freeze has 8,000 different recruiting assistants. That way, someone else can take the load, the workload of recruiting continuously. So yeah, I would not worry about it one bit. And then moving on to basketball, Auburn Basketball does not quite know who they are playing yet in the SEC tournament. As it stands, with the Arkansas win over Vanderbilt, Eric Musselman will be taking on the SEC Coach of the Year, Lamont Paris, in the second round today as the show comes out. And that'll probably be around 2 o'clock today. I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to guess and predict that Auburn will be playing South Carolina in the quarterfinals on Friday. And working out right now, trying to figure out when to do an actual preview. I don't want to do a preview of a game that I'm going to predict to happen because that's just not good analytics on my point. So we might have a preview show come out just for that game and that game alone. So stay tuned to that because you never know. If I predict South Carolina to be Arkansas and Arkansas beat South Carolina, then I just look like a fool. And I'm not for making myself look stupid on purpose. I've done it before on the show, but for this matter alone, I will not be making. I will make a prediction for who I think it's going to be, who I'd rather see Auburn play, and then maybe we'll potentially have a preview show come out on Friday, just before that game starts to play. But excuse me. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If I'm Auburn, I want to play Arkansas. I mean, as simple as that. But I think the likelihood that Auburn will be playing South Carolina is very high. It's a team Auburn's already played before and took care of very much so whenever they came in the Neville Arena. It's a favorable. Again, we've said this already. This is a very favorable draw for Auburn. Just having to deal with Vanderbilt, Arkansas, South Carolina's potential opponents. 3 opponents you've seen already. One of which you've already swept. And then you're just kind of waiting, seeing how the other games are going to go. I know right now, after Georgia beat Missouri, so Georgia will play Florida today as well for a full day of SEC tournament basketball because there are 4 games on today. So if you're not watching the SEC tournament, I don't know what you're doing exactly. But yeah, right now I'm going to say Auburn's going to play South Carolina. I think that's a safe bet. It's a very safe bet. But I do not want to try to do a preview of that game before we even get it confirmed. But favorable for Auburn, no matter which way it is. Auburn just has the keys in motion to go to the semifinals at the bare minimum, in my opinion. And that's another knock on wood moment for Dylan Larck. But yeah, favorable all the way through. You got to worry about Tennessee after whoever you play, and of course you don't want to get caught looking ahead because that's always a dangerous part of watching Auburn sports is the looking ahead part of these games. But South Carolina you've seen before, Arkansas you've seen before, and you historically put a beat down on Arkansas last time we played them. Janai Broome, Chad Baker-Mazara, Jay Will, Aiden Holloway, Katie Johnson, Denver Jones, Chris Moore, who's been playing very well whenever he's gotten in after the Leo Berman injury, Dylan Cardwell, just all these pieces, if they can just, I don't want to say peak now, but get emotion going, get streaky, get hot from the field. And the 3-point line, please, from the 3-point line. If you're not, please just stop shooting from the 3-point line. It's just so easy just to not throw up shots. This is a team that can win the SEC tournament. It simply is. But got to get through South Carolina or Arkansas. And then, of course, you got to get through Tennessee and Dalton Connect, who is just averaging 21 points a game, which is a high for not only the SEC, but I think in college basketball. So, yeah. But yeah, with that's pretty much all I have for the SEC tournament talks. Get ready for the bracket challenge, the College League bracket challenge that will be starting just after all the seedings get announced. Me and Tarr will put that together. And of course, if you're a competitive spirit, like all of us over here at the College Loop and the War Report Podcast Network, we will be giving away 2 A-Day tickets for the winner of the College Loop Bracket Challenge. And of course, Tarr said he'll throw in 1 day of a round of golf at the RTJ in Auburn with him. So if you want to watch, if you want to record Tarr filming golf TikToks at the RTJ in Auburn, I suggest winning the bracket challenge. We also have one for the women's bracket as well, just because that bracket's going to be just as fun as the guys this year, and especially since Auburn will be in both of them. So stay tuned for that. And of course, whenever we announce it, the links will be in the description for both brackets, and you can join whenever that happens, which probably Sunday, Monday range. So with that last bit of Auburn basketball news, before we get into a nice little ad reads, Zep Jasper, former Auburn guard and a defensive mastermind, has signed to play professionally overseas in Venezuela. I did not get the exact team he'll be playing on. I was trying to find it, but I could not find it anywhere on my side. But huge shout out to Zep Jasper. I don't think Venezuela is ready for a defensive monster that Zep Jasper is. He plays in your face. Every single second of the game that he is in, he was in your face. He is annoying defensively, which makes him so good. So yeah, Venezuela, not ready for Zep Jasper. Not ready at all. But with that, before we get into diamond sports and of course mat sports and gymnastics, which I'm pulling up the schedule as we speak, I just want to let y'all know, if you are listening or watching right now, thank you so very much. And of course, we ask that you leave a like and comment. Comment what is your panic level on Auburn decommits? When exactly do you see yourself panicking about Auburn recruiting? Whether it just be one decommit or 2, or whenever everyone leaves, then you start really panicking. Let us know below. And of course, share the show with a friend. Why not? And then let them know to subscribe to the show, because we are getting so close to 800 subscribers. It is in our grasp at this point. So please subscribe. Try to get us there before A-Day. Maybe we'll have a nice little other prize come out for whenever we get to 800 before A-Day. But with that, let y'all know that if you have already liked and comment and subscribed and leave ratings on the audio versions of the show as well, there are other ways you can support the show. There is a Feeling Loopy, the College Loop sponsored War Report Podcast Network branded Feeling Loopy t-shirt. It is so nice. You gotta say it twice. The Feeling Loopy t-shirt. It comes in 5 different colorways. Only $25 on the warreport.com. Go to their shop. It's right there on the first page. And of course, if you don't want to type all that in, you know what? You can just click the link in the description below. Only $25. That link takes you right to the shirt. And of course, we have plenty of sources that will let you know that this is the best shirt you're ever going to wear in your entire life. Of course, you have Chris Causey and of course James Barnett, who are just chef's kiss when it comes to sources in the sports world. Everything they say is fact. We have seen no wrong from what they've said. I've not seen anything they said that has been wrong. That hopefully not subject to change. But yeah, of course, best sources in the game right now. So they are fully on board with the Feeling Loopy t-shirts, and I believe Chris Causey said that it was so comfortable. He best snap of his life napping in the Feeling Loopy t-shirt. But yeah, get your own shirt today. And with that, moving on to the Diamond, starting off with baseball, they took on the Troy Trojans on Tuesday. I got to get my days right because I forget that game happened on Tuesday and not Wednesday. Auburn took down the Troy Trojans 8-2 in another standout performance from one Conner McBride. In 5 innings, only gave up 1 hit and 1 run in, again, his 5 innings of play. He is just an absolute behemoth, and he is starting to look like a guy that arguably could fight for a weekend spot. He has just been that consistently good. on the mound. Of course, you had John Armstrong and Will Cannon and Tanner Bauman have some solid innings as well. But Conner McBride, definitely a guy that getting his third win could turn into a very solid pitcher for the Tigers for potentially a weekend. Because as we're looking ahead now to the weekend series this week, if you didn't know, Auburn Basketball currently in Nashville, Auburn Baseball currently in Nashville, Auburn Gymnastics currently in Nashville. Auburn taking on the Vanderbilt Commodores, where they are currently 12-3 at home for the Commodores. They are batting pretty well, pretty much very average as a team, 316. Their best batter, RJ Austin's batting a 361 with 1 home run and 3 doubles. But as a whole, this is a Vanderbilt's always going to be a solid team to play. The issue with Auburn is having that Saturday pitching spot. That's kind of been a battling point for the mound. Jogo, don't know if he gets to start. Nothing's been confirmed yet. He's been struggling as of late with confidence. So once he gets that, Jogo is going to be back in action, and Auburn has their trio of very solid weekend pitchers. And of course, Cam Tilley is an absolute G as a relief. And he could also be arguing for a spot on a weekend very, very soon. Right now, I might bug a little bit. I might say Auburn's going to take 2 out of the 3, just because I think Auburn is just that good. And when everything is working out, they are one of the best teams in the SEC. They made all the correct pickups in the transfer portal, and I was going to say this every single time I talk about baseball. They made all the correct pickups in the transfer portal and the high school realm. They picked up a lot of great pitchers with like Carson Myers and again Conner McBride. I think Auburn gets the weekend series, start off the SEC right, and gets the SEC season off right. You just got to look out for the power hitters of Vanderbilt and the fielding percent and their outfield as well. Vanderbilt always good at baseball. So I think Auburn's going to take the series 2-1. I just feel confident in that. And then moving on to the softball diamond, Auburn is taking on the Arkansas Razorbacks at J&B Moore Field. And of course, if you were unaware of who the best hitter is on the Arkansas Razorbacks, it is one Bri Ellis, who, if you were not been paying attention to Arkansas softball, which with it barely being on TV sometimes, might be very hard for you to do. She just won SEC Player of the Week this last week, and she is currently at 8 home runs. She has 28 RBIs. She is slugging .740. She's batting .342. She is just having an absolute monster season already. And what better to do than to walk into beautiful J&B Moore Field and let off some steam, if you will. This is going to be a weekend that I'm very worried about. Watching the Missouri series last weekend, it was very disappointing to see how the offense struggled against Missouri. 2 runs in the first 2 games for the Auburn Tigers, and of course gave up. I can't remember if it was 7 or 10 in the first 2. I'm trying to remember. I think it was 5-2 the second game and 5-0 in the first game. I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, Auburn has a very solid bullpen of pitchers. Of course, Maddie Penta, who is one of the best pitchers in the sport in general. AB Annabelle had a rough outing versus Missouri, but Shelby came in and locked it down. And of course, you have Emma Rolfe as well, who has improved so much over this offseason. But you're going to be looking at the battles that you're going to see on the Friday and Sunday. You're going to see Maddie Penta versus Bri Ellis, a story only told in folklore of Auburn practices. So we heard from Bri Ellis when she was on the show with us just last year. But looking at this game, looking at the series, I don't feel confident in Auburn taking the series versus Arkansas. It's just something that I saw last week, and I know you're playing in Missouri. Missouri's a very good team. I mean, they earned that top 12 rating that they have, and Missouri might be a team to watch out for in the SEC, like winning the SEC. Missouri, not good at basketball, good at football, good at softball. To be determined on baseball. But I don't feel confident in the firepower of Arkansas going against the very inconsistent offense of Auburn. You're getting consistent hits from Amelia Larck, who is leading the team in home runs and is consistently hitting the ball. You're not getting that from anybody else. You get very few games where the team as a whole is hitting the ball, and you're relying too heavily on Maddie Pinta, and it's starting the show. And this is something that we're going to be talking about throughout the remainder of the season. Winning this series would be huge and would send Auburn into the right direction. Just completely. Like, this would skyrocket the stock in Auburn just winning this series, because again, Arkansas, very good. Their basketball team was able to use the portal very well. Their softball team did. They picked up a lot of great players. One of those, of course, being Bri Ellis. I'm, again, not confident. I think Auburn maybe still won. I like Auburn still won, maybe kind of reminiscent to last week's series against Missouri, just kind of losing the first two and taking the last one. But yeah, that's just kind of how I feel about it. I think we're those missed games hurt a lot. And I think right now, looking at it, it's hard for me to look at the series and confidently say that Auburn will take it. I mean, as it stands, Auburn has played 18 games compared to the 25 that Arkansas has played. And it's just, again, just don't feel, it's just a level of confidence that I have. I just don't feel confident in this. It'll be interesting to see how this game does end up going. I'm going to be at one of these games. I'm going to be at the Saturday game, and hopefully watch an Auburn win. And if that's the one, it'd be awesome. If that's one of two, that'd be awesome. If it's one of three, that'd be perfect, if you will. But yeah, unless without the midweek, hopefully a week of practice really helped out. You took it to Missouri in game 3, beat them 4-0, shut them out. You're going to need that level of Maddie Pinta. You're going to need a level of that from everybody in the bullpen. You need to be able to keep Arkansas off the base. I'm not saying you would probably love a perfect game for Maddie Pinta. You would love another one. You need a good defensive game. You don't need errors in the outfield. You need everybody on point, because this game gets you ready for the remainder of the season against a lot of top teams, Tennessee, LSU, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Alabama, like teams later on in the season that you got to really worry about. Texas A&M, and of course Troy and Sanford, Georgia Tech, La Tech, UAB, just everybody on the schedule isn't a pushover the way we've been watching Auburn softball play. And I'm being harsh. That's because I love Auburn. I love the softball team. I love what the softball team can do. They have the talent to be very, very good. It's just the past couple of games, and of course this could be due to the fact that they've not played a lot of games, have been disappointing. And it's time for a turnaround at some point. If you take 2 against Arkansas, that's the spark. That is the spark Auburn softball needs. And of course, I want to say win every series. That's what you want to happen. Win every series. But if you take it to Arkansas in games 1, 2, or 3, or 1 and 3, just give the Maddie Pinta games, that's spark. That sends you right where you want to be. No longer looking at, and of course the Missouri. I feel like the Missouri series loss is going to age very well, because Missouri is going to turn into a very high-end team that puts themselves in Oklahoma City at the end of the season. But yeah, that's my prediction. I don't think Auburn wins that series, but I think Auburn does win the Vanderbilt series. And with that, Auburn gymnastics to round out this episode of the College Loop podcast. They are also in Nashville. They are going to be competing at the Kidney Care Women's Gymnastics Championships against Kentucky, against Ohio State, and Fisk two of those teams Auburn has already seen this year. They've beaten Fisk. They beat them in the quad meet that happened early on in the year. And they also lost to Kentucky earlier on in the year by 0.4. It's going to be another really good matchup before the SEC championships. Auburn's still in the national competitor rankings. And a solid performance can keep them that way. Kentucky and Ohio State. I don't know how well Ohio State's gymnastics team is. I have not paid attention to the Big Ten that much in gymnastics, but I know Kentucky is still very good. So beating Kentucky would be huge. Winning the quad meet out route would be awesome. Just keep Auburn within contention for the national championship competitions, especially a good performance at this SEC championships, which would be next Saturday. So yeah, Auburn gymnastics taking on Kentucky, Ohio State, and Fisk in Nashville, Tennessee on Saturday at 7:15. That game is going to be on YouTube, live streamed on YouTube. So with that does it for this installment of the College Loop Podcast. Nice little short episode today, just a little over 32 minutes as I'm talking about this. But of course, I'm Dylan Larck at your boy Tang on Twitter, also on Instagram as well at Dylan Larck at DYLENLARCK. And of course, you have me right here on the College Loop, where you should like, comment, and subscribe. Leave your thoughts on decommitments. Leave your thoughts on who you think Auburn's going to play as SEC tournament, and what is your predictions and ceiling for Auburn SEC tournament right now. And of course, leave your predictions for what seed you think women's basketball is going to be in their tournament for the NCAA, and because we'll be talking about that on Sunday on a live stream, whether it happens that time or not. We will be talking about Auburn seeding in the NCAA tournaments, both men's and women's basketball. So, of course, with that, if you're tired of seeing our faces right here on YouTube, where you should have already liked, comment, subscribe, you can go take yourself over to Spotify, Podcast, Google Podcast, or Amazon Music, and go follow us for the audio versions of the show as well. And of course, social media. So you have us on Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, the works, all of those at the College Loop. And that should do it for all of the call outs. But yeah, with that, this has been the College Loop Podcast. War Eagle.